And we had 2 airplanes on the hangar deck loaded with a nuclear weapon, 15 minutes standby to launch. And that's how close we were. When I graduated, you had to serve 2 years at sea before you could go to flight school, and I had put in for flight school. And my first duty station was aboard an aircraft carrier, assistant navigator, aboard the Franklin D. Roosevelt. I was aboard about 2 months, and then we had gone to war with Korea, and I got my orders to flight school. On December 5th of 1951, I got my wings. And I went to a squadron. Well, that second cruise in the AD Skyraider, we went to Korea. We get to Korea, the war had stopped. We patrolled there all day long. The word was we had 1 nuclear bomb. And the word we had is if the war started again, we were going to drop it. I had to go to ship's company tour, and I was a hangar deck officer on the supercarrier, the Saratoga. Eventually I worked my way up a flight deck officer and aircraft handling officer. Made 4 deployments in Saratoga and then 2 on Forrestal. On the Forrestal, I was exec of one of the squadrons, and I became air boss on Forrestal. And we had 2 airplanes on the hangar deck loaded with a nuclear weapon, guarded by Marines, 15 minutes standby to launch. And that's how close we were. But failure was not an option. The Navy had attack carriers and had ASW carriers. They wanted to see how fast we could deploy an attack squadron from the shore to an ASW carrier. They flew the whole squadron, 150 men and all our support equipment, and the pilots out to the USS Essex, and they said, "You guys have been picked to fly fighter cover for invasion of the Bay of Pigs." They said, "We have some ships of the invasion force have decided they don't want to go in and invade. We need to convince them that the U.S. is going to be with them." I happened to be one of the planes launched that day, intercepted an LST, probably 200, maybe 210 bearded men hanging over the gunnels. Come down 50 feet, U.S. Navy on my marker. "I'm with you guys." And the last thing I saw, the ship did a 180 and headed north. Well, that was great. And that night at midnight, they told us, "We're not going in." And I felt like I had just led 220 guys to their death. And we spent the next 27 days on the line. I intercepted one day a Cuban patrol boat with a guy up on the bow with a machine gun around, sitting up on the bow with us, headed up toward the mangroves. Some of the invasion force were in the mangroves trying to escape, and this guy was going to kill him probably. And I did a swoop down beside him. In the second swoop, the gunner went below. And he wasn't about to fight. I could have sunk him if I would have known. In about the third swoop, the boat turned around and went back someplace else. So I thought, well, maybe I saved 50 or 60 guys that day. I don't know. My total career, I had 9 major deployments. I made captain. Had some pretty wonderful experiences, but talk about Cold War. It really comes down to the pressures from this guy at the Naval Academy. They had such a rough time, and here I have got all this responsibility. All my life it just seemed like nobody ever asked you, where'd you stand at the academy? You're academy grad, you're qualified.